Hey, I'm TV and Movie Guy on Instagram, and I'll be reviewing the MCU leading up to the new movie Deadpool and Wolverine in July. Gonna try and make all the reviews before then, but we'll see. I'll be watching the MCU in release order so that anyone that hasn't watched before can watch along with me. I won't be talking about movies or shows until I get to them. We'll only discuss any of the shows or movies up to that point. I'll be reviewing them assuming that you're either very familiar with the movie or had just watched it. I won't be going scene by scene, retelling the show or movie. At that point, just go watch it. I have not read any of the comics, so don't have any of that base of knowledge. All I know is what they put on the screen. I'll be reviewing Thor the Dark World today. If you don't want to be spoiled, and you might want to watch this one rather than go and watch it. It's not a very enjoyable movie. And with that, allons-y. Overall review for this one is it's a sequel that didn't improve the bad from the original movie. And what happens in it, if I were to explain it to you like you were 5, is Jane Foster absorbs the ether and Infinity Stone, which awakens Malekith and the Dark Elves that created it, or forged it, to bring darkness to the universe. Thor brings her to Asgard to remove it. The Dark Elves detect it there, which makes Thor need Loki to be able to get him and Jane away from Asgard to keep it from being destroyed. Malekith catches them, takes the ether from Jane, plans to use it during the convergence to send the whole world, universe, into darkness. Thor, with the help of Jane and Eric Selvig, takes on Malekith to keep that from happening. And I already said it's not a very good movie, but in terms of my official tier or ranking, yeah, I didn't like it. It's just So it's that second from bottom tier, so 2 stars, if you will. Not as bad as The Incredible Hulk, but it's not even okay. It's just And like my issues with it is just Malekith, the Dark Elf. All he wants to do is just plunge the world into darkness, and that's all there is to his character. Like, there's no nuance from him. We don't get anything else out of him. There's nothing else to his character. It's not an entertaining villain, and every scene that he is on screen just is wasted time. Like, there's nothing to him. It's like, okay, he's the villain. This is what they're planning on doing, and that's it. There's nothing to it. The bright spots of this movie are Kat Denning, again, Darcy. I love her character from the first Thor movie, and in this one, she brightens the screen with every scene she's in. She's great comedic relief, and she's just the best part of that out of the first 2 Thor movies. And then you also had Chris O'Dowd as Richard, as the date that Jane went on at the start of the movie and the call she got toward the end of it. And I know him mostly from the IT Crowd and Bridesmaids. I'd recommend both of those if you haven't seen either. So IT Crowd is a show and decent length. It's pretty good. And Bridesmaids is just a hilarious movie. But yeah, so he was good. He was a good touch of comedy that wasn't overused. Just like 2 scenes throughout the whole movie. And he wasn't trying to be funny, but they wrote around him to just make him funny. So they had some good writing around him. So with Kat Dennings and Chris O'Dowd, it's nice having some good laughs in this movie because the story itself is not great. The main event, no, doesn't work for me. So it just seemed the movie seemed flat. Villain wasn't good. There was no real progression of characters from beginning to the end of the movie, and I don't count Thor leaving Asgard and his duties. He doesn't leave his duties, but he's now going to be living on Earth with Jane, and I don't buy into it because I haven't been invested in the Thor-Jane relationship, Jor or Thane, whatever you will. The first movie, it wasn't convincing at all, and they did nothing to change my mind in this one. Acting as if they have been in a long relationship, or even any kind of length of time relationship when Thor comes back to Earth and Jane sees him and she slaps him in the face a couple times to act like she's been spurned, or like that was just awful. And then we don't see any chemistry between them throughout either movie. Their relationship is not earned in my eyes or any of the viewers' eyes. I don't think there's anything other than just attraction, really. Like, we don't get anything to suggest that they should be together or they're great for each other. So, yeah, that's why I don't believe any progression for Thor in this one. Like, why leave Asgard for Jane just because it's written down? Like, no, that doesn't work for me. We got Loki again in this one, and again, don't really know what he's doing, what he's going for. Like, he's just that ambiguous character he's been in the first Thor and in the Avengers. We did get some vulnerability after he learns about Frigga's death, seeing how distraught he is in his cell after he gets that news. So that was nice, and then he brushes it off as if like it's nothing, and tries to help Thor with destroying the ether. And then we see him eventually take on Odin's look and like his place on the throne. So don't really know what to expect from that, but we'll see eventually what he's doing. And then another interesting and somewhat bright spot in this movie is we at least get an Infinity Stone and sort of an introduction to them as a whole. The ether being one of 6 to predate the universe with an unlimited power, or just unmeasurable, or just very powerful relic from the MCU universe. Although that's a tautology. U and MCU is the universe, so MCU universe doesn't work. All right. And then in terms of who's that little dude, in this movie, it's Eric Selvig. The only way they were going to beat Malekith was with Eric's devices. So all the credit in the universe literally goes to Eric to keep the universe from being plunged into darkness. And then I'm doing away with the best worst. Rather, I'm just going to do memorable scenes and lines. And the memorable scenes from this movie, I think, I always enjoy when Thor's in the apartment and he just hangs Mjolnir, his hammer, on a coat rack. It's like a 3-second scene or clip, but I just find it so funny. And he just, I don't know. There's nothing around it. It just happened. I don't know. It's always been a funny scene to me and interesting too. It's so mundane of a action that why even film it is kind of a thought, but I don't know. That's why I find it interesting. Another scene would be Loki's reactions and his cell after getting the Frigga news. I enjoyed seeing that side of him and just seeing his character kind of show more than just his unambiguous. No, ambiguous is the word. Traits. So he was actually wearing his emotions on his sleeve there after brushing away the illusion. And then the escape from Asgard scene. So once Loki's out of the cell helping Thor get out, yeah, I enjoyed that. Loki making fun of Thor as he's flying the ship through the building. I think you missed a column. Shut up! And then Loki turning into Captain America, making fun of Chris Evans. And he also does some like actual impressions of Chris Evans. So you could look those up. they're decent. A memorable line for me was the mid-credit scene was the collector saying one down, five to go, and he's basically just talking about the Infinity Stones. Odin had mentioned earlier in the movie that the ether being one of six uh, gems or stones to predate the universe. So the collector's out for all of them, apparently. And my next segment, so I'm all about jokes, so I'm just going to keep the jokes. So these are the jokes. If you know that reference, that's very impressive. It's from Veronica Mars. But yeah, a lot of them being Kat Denning. She had a lot of great lines, so I just kept a couple of hers. Hey, how's space? And then Thor's just like, space is fine. Space is good. And she's like, you're wearing lady clothes. You got dressed up. And then one of Thor's, so like after Richard O'Dowd, or Chris O'Dowd, his character Richard, calls Jane, and then they get into the car, and Thor's like, so who's Richard? As if he'd be jealous. Although, he's jealous, but it's just funny. And then Thor's scene on the train with the woman. How do I get to Greenwich? And then the train moves, and she just bumps into him and just gets to feel up Chris Hemsworth. All right, what happened to the bat in this one? Seems like he was killed, crushed by his ship after Selvig. Eric had transported both he and the ship through that gravitational anomaly or wormhole or whatever they called it in this one. And then the loose threads from this one, Loki's not dead. He's impersonating Odin. So what happened to Odin? Where's he? And then the other one being, why does the collector want the Infinity Stones? It could just be like he's a collector, so he just wants to collect them. Got to catch them all. That kind of thing. Cameo in this one, Stan Lee was an old guy in that, I don't even know, rehab facility. I'm not sure what it was, but he was the old guy wanting his shoe back. It was okay. Q&A, didn't see any questions come through. So if you have any, go ahead and email them to me at tvandmovieguyproductions@gmail.com, or you can leave them in the comments. Well, that's all I had. Pretty short one. It's a bad movie, and there's really not much to get into it. I watched the deleted scenes for this one, and unlike The Incredible Hulk, where I thought some of those were interesting, this one did not have a whole lot of interesting deleted scenes. So it's just an kind of movie. Again, if you have any questions, email me or leave them in the comments. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can at TV and Movie Guy, where I review TV shows and movies. Yeah, just a reminder, I've never worked on any engagement or counted any votes or ballots for any award shows. The opinions are my own and do not reflect that of my employers. My next review for the MCU will be Captain America, The Winter Soldier, and I'm also going to watch the one-shot called Agent Carter. Well, see ya.